This is the Sony ZV-E10. And it was one of Sony's best-selling camera way back when it was released in August 2021. So this is an entry-level APS-C camera that focuses mainly on video shooting while being advertised as a vlogging camera. So if you are considering buying the Sony ZV-E10 today, let's explore the limit and possibility of this Sony ZV-E10 and see whether it is the right one for you. Starting off with the design and build quality. So being 343 grams, it is small and compact with sleek and modern design. The build quality is quite decent even though it is made out of plastic. So it is not a weather sealed body, so if you are going to take this camera out in the rain or dusty environment, you have to be really careful. This camera has a flip up LCD screen. You can turn the LCD display anywhere you like. It is super handy, especially when you are vlogging and looking at yourself or shooting at a certain angle. So on surface, this looks like a simple and casual camera and not made for the professional. But in fact, you can achieve a really amazing result from this camera, and I've known some professionals even use this camera to do work like wedding, event, or even commercial work. It has 24 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It can shoot great quality still images, super fast autofocus system, and also face and eye detection and also tracking. So it should oversample 4K video, which is super sharp and professional quality.
You can see the quality is so good, man. You can see the detail, the face, and the background. Yeah, it is good.
It also shot 1080p up to 120 frames per second. Built-in directional microphone, you get good audio straight out of the camera.
So right now I'm using a 1080p footage. So you judge whether this one is better than just now the 4K quality.
I often find myself not necessary to bring any external microphone because the internal audio from this Sony ZV-E10 is really good. Just attach the dead cat and you're good to go. It also has headphone and microphone ports for live stream via USB-C connection. Multi-interface horseshoe, you can attach mic, shotgun mic like ECB-1M from Sony without attaching any cable. It also can record gyro data, which is important for post-processing stabilization. ZV-E10 also get a Sony Cinema picture profile with 10 different options for you to choose from. This look will allow you to shoot at a flat and low contrast look. So later on, you can apply your color grade to those footage, tweak the color to your liking. Well, if you don't like the hassle of color grading, you can still use the creative style from Sony. Standard, vivid, portrait, landscape, sunset, black and white, and sepia. On top of that, it is equipped with Sony ZV series vlogging function. So first is the background defocus.
Once I turn it on, you can see my background become defocused. So my hand there is not clear. Now it's focusing on my eye. I toggle it off, then you can see my background become clear. This is the background defocus mode.
And also the soft skin feature, which smoothen your skin to hide your face imperfection like skin pores. You can set it to low, medium, or high. And also product showcase mode. Once toggled on, it will focus on whatever in front of the camera.
It will focus on something in front of the camera instead of my eye, you see? You can see? This is in front of me, it's not focusing on me.
Okay, so we have gone through all the key specs and features of this camera. What about the actual use case scenario? Actually, for the Sony ZV-E10 is my first interchangeable lens camera, which I bought 1 year ago. And I really like the performance from this camera so far. I use it for vlogging, for commercial work. I've pushed it through extreme low light condition or challenging ocean wave, bringing it on board to ship. Photo-wise, it is still a very good camera, being an APS-C sensor similar to the A6100, which is already known to capture great still images. The 24 megapixel is actually more than enough to capture good and professional quality image, of course with proper camera adjustment. So video-wise is where the bad reviews started to come in. Remember that this camera is advertised of being a vlogging camera. However, there is quite a bit of caveat to it. Let's talk about that together with the cons or weakness of this ZV-E10 camera. For the first weaknesses, the stabilization. Being a vlogging camera, you'll be constantly walking and on the go. But if your footage look like this...
Yeah, so this is me walking on a normal pace, doing the normal walking and talking. As you can see, it's actually quite shaky.
Honestly, you may as well use an iPhone because it has way better stabilization. But of course, we are different from those iPhone users. We want to use the ZV-E10 to capture good 4K videos, good quality vlog. So fortunately, Sony does provide an active stabilization feature to overcome this weakness.
Using the active stabilization, so actually I'm doing the normal walking and talking. As you can see, it did a pretty great job to stabilize my head inside the frame. But there is a 1.4 times crop inside the footage, which is not ideal for vlogging. I mean, if you're doing some production, that's okay. Yeah, it will help you to zoom in, but I'm vlogging right now. it is actually stable. It do quite a fair job to stabilize your corners.
It is not ideal to vlog with this function turned on, especially with the kit lens. So it's better that you go for other wider lenses like the Sony 11mm f1.8. So you can vlog and turn on this function while still maintain a very wide focal length. Well, another way to overcome the stabilization issue is to use the Sony Catalyst Browse application to stabilize your footage. And the result is really impressive, but there is a 10% crop to your footage. The second cons about this camera is the sudden crop factors. So if you use 4K 30 frames per second, it will apply a 1.2 times crop to the footage. 1080p 120 frames per second, it will apply 1.1 times crop to your footage. And also another cons will be the menu. So this is an old Sony menu, so it's actually quite messy. The setting and adjustment is all over the place. You have to find through the menu system is quite confusing sometimes, but the old menu is not really a big deal. You just have to spend time and go through all the menus at least 2 to 3 times and try to understand it with the beam function, then you'll be good to go. This sensor is actually quite dated. It is similar to the A6100, A6000 series. It is slow. When you pan the camera, it will introduce rolling shutter. So rolling shutter is this footage when your footage started to bend. That's what we call rolling shutter. It is much more apparent when you are using 4K video shooting. You will experience significant rolling shutter when you are using 4K video shooting and you're panning like crazy fast like this. On 1080p it's not that apparent, but if you're using on tight focal length like 50mm, you still have a very visible rolling shutter. And also the Sony ZV-E10 1080p is actually not the best quality. Yes, at the start I did mention the 4K footage is amazing, it's very good, very crispy. However, the 1080p appear to be very mushy and just not as sharp as the 4K. I tried to sharpen up the footage in post, still it does not look good.
Right guys, so right now I'm using a 1080p footage. So you judge whether this one is better than just now the 4K quality.
So whenever I use the Sony ZV-E10, I always shoot at 4K. And for the battery life, it's considered average, so I always get about 1.5 hour battery life. So as for the price of this camera, actually it's priced at $700 for the body only, which is similar to the ZV-1. And also it is priced as $800 for the camera paired with the 16-50 f3.5 and 5.6 kit lens. So if you want to know more about the kit lens, please do check out my other videos. I've do some review about the kit lens, photo and video capabilities. So for my conclusion, with those high-end cameras being introduced lately, like the Sony a6700, Sony ZV-E10s, and all those new functions such as AI chipset to detect animal, human to improve the autofocus, even with all these new functions in the latest Sony camera, up until September 2023, I still think that Sony ZV-E10 is one of the best beginner camera you can get at $700. This camera is packed with a lot of features. There's a lot of potential to grow by using this camera. The oversampled 4K footage alone, which was downsampled for 6K sensor, has amazing quality and easily blows the iPhone out of the window. With the ability to change lens and being Sony E-mount, you can get access to massive lens library from Sony and also third-party manufacturer like Tamron or Sigma. Of course, it is not compulsory to update your lens, but I'm just letting you know that in future, if you want to upgrade, you can really upgrade your Sony ZV-E10 with some other lens from Sony, so you can achieve a way better image quality. So the only limitation that I would say about the Sony ZV-E10 is that it is unable to shoot 4K 60 frames per second and 1080p quality is not that great, which means slow-mo captured by this camera is not that great too. And also it can only shoot 8-bit color, not 10-bit like those new Sony camera. And for photo side, the 24 megapixel is actually good enough for you to take amazing photos. I've seen a lot of people using the A6000 and A6400 to take amazing pictures. The only difference is that the Sony ZV-E10 doesn't have a viewfinder. Well, in order to take professional quality footage with this camera, you really have to understand the camera, you understand its limitation and its strength, so you dial in all the necessary functions and appropriate setting to achieve a good quality image. And thank you guys for watching. So subscribe me for more camera related content, especially Sony ZV-E10. And if you have any questions, kindly leave a comment down below. And okay guys, see you!